All right. Good morning, ELD. I guess also good afternoon, ELD, if you're watching this in the sixth period. Sorry I can't be there today. I am at jury duty again. I don't know how long that's going to go. I do want to be back there with you soon because that makes this easier. All right. So today we're going to be working in those writing packets again that we started on Monday. So let's pause the video for a second, give you guys a chance to grab those. I know some of you left them in the box in the back. So take a second, grab those, open them up to page 6. All right. All right. You got it? Okay. If not, pause it, get ready, because here we go. So this is a writing packet. We're going to be talking about writing still. So remember, in our last lesson, we talked about informational texts. Okay. The purpose of these texts is to inform. Remember, an author's purpose can be to persuade, can be to inform, can be to entertain. P-I-E. Remember that? We're talking about informational texts. We'll learn more about the others again later. But we also learned that all informational texts have a central idea. They have something they want to teach you, information they want to give to you. Sometimes they come out and tell us that idea, like our Sound of Science article. Sometimes it's not as clear. We just have to kind of get a cumulative feel of everything they're writing to figure out what's their central idea. So today we're going to look at some other features of informational texts. Remember, you'll be writing an informational text of your own very soon. I know you're excited about that. So as we continue to learn about this kind of text, tuck away some of these ideas. Okay, so you should be on page 6. Take a quick look at this page, flipping through what you have and the following ones after that. What do you see? Okay, I'm imagining that you guys are flipping through the pages here. Okay, what you see here is a student has done some research. They've collected some sources, they're doing some research. What is the topic being researched? Well, if you look here on that first page, they've given a working title here. That's kind of what they're going to research. My brain, a work in progress. Okay, so we've looked at that working title, and that's what a writer uses to guide his or her thinking during the writing process. So you guys can use that too when you start writing. That can be changed later on. You don't have to stick with that, but it kind of helps guide your thinking process. And that's most likely the central idea of this body of research. It will probably be the central idea of the informational text that this student is preparing to write. Okay, so to write informational text, and let me point this out. These sources that we're looking at, this is not what this student has written. These are sources that this student has collected, has gathered here to use in their writing. Okay, not all of these sources say the same thing. Not all of them are specifically about the exact same idea, but they have sources that this student can use when they're writing their informational piece. Okay, so to write an informational text, a writer conducts research, and that's what you see is happening here. That means that he or she gathers information from other informational texts, not made up texts. Otherwise, you're not writing informational anymore. So remember, informational text can be written and presented in a number of ways. So what are some of the formats that you see on these pages? Let's kind of flip through. So informational texts are not always going to be textbooks. They're not always going to be something specific. Like this here, this looks like like a tri-fold brochure, probably sitting in a medical office somewhere that talks about mental health and your brain. Probably the back of the same one. This looks like a textbook maybe that someone's looking at. Okay, here we have something on a website. More textbook information, some note cards. So informational text, here's some graphs. Graphs are awesome for information. Informational text can come in many forms. If it's true information, doesn't matter where you get it, as long as it's true and you know that. Okay? So let's read the reference materials from My Brain, a Work in Progress, and let's keep our central idea in mind. The teenage brain is a work in progress. Okay, and see if our guess is correct, if that is the central idea. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read the first source to you. Hope you're not getting dizzy by me just scrolling through this stuff. Well, scratch that. I'm not going to read the whole first source. I'm going to read the front side of this brochure with you. What I want you to do after that, you guys can get in pairs, trios, no more than 4 people in a group because it gets too chaotic. Actually, let's keep it at 2 or 3. Let's do that. And you guys break it up how you want, but I want you to read this stuff out loud to each other. Take turns reading paragraphs, pages, whatever, but read out loud to each other. And if right now you're thinking, no, I don't like reading in front of people, you all are ELD4. So at some point they tested your reading. You're all kind of at the same level. Okay. But take it as an opportunity to help each other too. If you come to a word, you're like, I don't know how to say that word, someone else might. Okay. I guarantee you, all of you are going to find words that you don't know what they mean. So maybe those are things you can research together. Okay, but let me read this first document, first front side of the document. Then I'll leave you guys to read that. But I want you guys to follow along on your sheets. So I'm going to move my face out of the way. I don't like to look at it either. Okay, so follow along. Listen to me, follow along. The teen brain still under construction. This is from the National Institute of Mental Health. All right, you guys paying attention? You should be following along on page 6. One of the ways that scientists have searched for the causes of mental illness is by studying the development of the brain from birth to adulthood. Powerful new technologies have enabled them to track the growth of the brain and to investigate the connections between brain function, development, and behavior. The research has turned up some surprises, among them the discovery of striking changes taking place during the teen years. Spoiler alert, you guys are in your teen years. These findings have altered long held assumptions about the timing of brain maturation. In key ways, the brain doesn't look like that of an adult until the early 20s. An understanding of how the brain of an adolescent is changing may help explain a puzzling contradiction of adolescence. Young people at this age are close to a lifelong peak of physical health, strength, and mental capacity, and yet, for some, this can be a hazardous age. Mortality rates jump between early and late adolescence. Rates of death by injury between ages 15 and 19 are about 6 times that of the rate between ages 10 and 14. Crime rates are highest among young males, and rates of alcohol abuse are high relative to other ages. Even though most adolescents come through this traditional age well, it is important to understand the risk factors for behavior that can have serious consequences. Genes, childhood experience, and the environment in which a young person reaches adolescence all shape behavior. Adding to this complex picture, research is revealing how all these factors act in the context of a brain that is changing with its own impact on behavior. You guys following along with me? So we're up at the top now of that far right column where it says the more we learn. Put a pencil, a finger, something on that, follow along as I read. The more we learn, the better we may be able to understand the abilities and vulnerabilities of teens and the significance of this stage for lifelong mental health. The fact that so much change is taking place beneath the surface may be something for parents to keep in mind during the ups and downs of adolescence. The visible brain. A clue to the degree of change taking place in the teen brain comes from studies in which scientists did brain scans of children as they grew from early childhood through age 20. The scans revealed unexpectedly late changes in the volume of gray matter, which forms the thin, folding outer layer of cortex of the brain. The cortex is where the processes of thought and memory are based. Over the course of childhood, the volume of gray matter in the cortex increases and then declines. A decline in volume is normal at this age and is in fact a necessary part of maturation. The assumption for many years had been that the volume of gray matter was highest in very early childhood and gradually fell as a child grew. The more recent scans, however, revealed that the high point of the volume of gray matter occurs during early adolescence. While the details behind the changes in volume on scans are not completely clear, the results push the timeline of brain maturation into adolescence and young adulthood. In terms of the volume of gray matter seen in brain images, the brain does not begin to resemble that of an adult until the early 20s. The scans also suggest that different parts of the cortex mature at different rates. Areas involved in more basic functions mature first. Those involved, for example, in the processing of information from the senses and in controlling movement. The parts of the brain responsible for more top down control, controlling impulses and planning ahead, the hallmarks of adult behavior, are among the last to mature. Okay, I'm going to stop reading because I want you guys to read. Okay, so quickly, without talking, without getting crazy, figure out who you're going to read with. Two, three people in a group at most. And I want you to take turns reading paragraphs, understanding that everybody in your group is not fully sure what all these words mean or how to read them, so don't judge, help each other out. Underline some words that maybe you're not sure of. We can go over those later. But I want you to get through reading these different sources, keeping in mind that central idea that we're looking at, which is my brain is a work in progress. Okay, so your brain is constantly changing, especially at your age. Okay, so you're going to start reading on page 7. There it is. Okay, so read to each other, encourage each other, help each other when you get stuck on something. See how many of these sources you can get through today. Okay, after those first 2 pages, they're not too long after that. It's bigger font, easier to read. Okay, and there's graphs and stuff, so it won't take you too long. You should be able to get through the reading of this today. Um, I don't expect you to remember it all today, but read it so you have it in there once, and then we are going to move on to our next step with this project in the days to come. Okay, sorry I'm not there today. Hope this was helpful. I will see you soon.